An athlete's prime is usually defined as the stretch in their career where they were at their best. Every single athlete has a prime, even the trash ones. Sure, some primes last longer than others, and some primes are much better than others. Every athlete has a stretch where they peak, though. A reign of terror is a little different. It's not just a good athlete's prime. It's a stretch in their career where everybody was genuinely scared of them. The large majority of athletes have never had a reign of terror. Those are reserved for the all-time greats, the best of the best. It's not just about how good you were either. There's a lot of other context that goes into it. How did you make your opponents feel? How did you make the fans feel? Were they scared of you? I can't legally say the things I wanted to do to Tom Brady during his reign of terror. He seemed completely inevitable in the AFC. From 2011 to 2019, he made the AFC Championship every single season and won 5 times, going on to win the Super Bowl 3 of those times. He then left the AFC and went to Tampa just to win the Super Bowl again after people said he couldn't do it without Belichick. It wasn't just the winning, it was the way he was winning too. Even when Brady wasn't playing like the Terminator, every single thing seemed to go their way regardless. Time after time, teams would get oh so close to stomping him out, and somehow he'd skim his way through. The goal line interception against the Seahawks, the absurd 28-3 comeback against the Falcons. The last straw for me was that ridiculous roughing the passer call on Chris Jones, and then when D Ford was offsides a little later in the AFC Championship against the Chiefs. I just had to accept that he was the Antichrist. Mahomes had his own diet version of this terrorism from 2018 to 2025 when he made the AFC Championship 7 straight years, made the Super Bowl 5 times, and won 3 of them. But the fact that Brady himself beat him twice in that run, and he also just got ruthlessly fucked in the ass by Philly earlier this year, makes it a bit more of a Walmart version, even though, let's be real, there isn't a single active quarterback on the planet more hated than Patrick Mahomes right now, and it's not close. Y'all get what I'm saying, though. A player could be great and all, but if you weren't dominant to the point that people were genuinely sick of your presence, I wouldn't really call it a reign of terror. So, who had the greatest run ever? Let's take a look at every option I can possibly think of. Just a forewarning, I am on the younger side, so a lot of these guys are going to be more modern, I'm not going to lie. It's hard to really speak on how scared you were of a player that was a bit too old, like back in the 60s or 70s or so, because I obviously wasn't around. Wayne Gretzky is like the ultimate example of an extended run of complete and utter dominance, though. Fuck that whole no old player shit, because he was just too good for that. Dude got drafted in 1979 and he immediately won 8 straight MVPs. We have literally never seen anything like that in any sport ever. He's one of the only GOATs of their sport that's like completely undisputed with zero argument whatsoever. He also won 4 Stanley Cups during that stretch too. I feel like he has one of the best arguments, but he was wilding. We've never ever seen more than 3 MVPs in a row in basketball or football. We've never seen more than 4 in baseball. Gretzky is probably the best player ever in the big 4 American sports relative to their own sport. LeBron completely colonized the Eastern Conference for 8 straight years in the 2010s. Look, say whatever you want about the finals record or about the East being weak during this time period, but at the end of the day, 8 straight final appearances is insane. After he left the team, there still hasn't been a single team to repeat as conference champions. Forget about 8 in a row. It got to the point that people just started assuming he would be in the finals no matter how ass the Cavs roster was. Niggas had the 2018 finals booked as Warriors-Cavs before the season started, even though the Cavs roster was straight buns outside of Braun. They had no business making the finals that year. Let's keep it a buck. I'll never forget that Game of Zones episode about LeBron and the Eastern Conference. It's one of their best ones. Niggas basically just knew that the East belonged to Braun, and that was that. Damn. I miss Game of Zones, bro. That's the best thing Bleacher Report ever did. MJ's most dominant run had a bit of a gap in between for the retirement, and he lost to the Magic in the second round before the second three-peat, but still, 6 for 6 in 6 straight full seasons is crazy. It probably won't ever be done again with how different the league is now. He won 4 MVPs in that 6-year time frame too, and he won the scoring title every single one of those 6 seasons. The Eastern Conference couldn't even get a sniff, bruh. There were really solid Cavs teams that never touched the finals because of him. Great Heat teams that never touched the finals because of him. He sent some elite Knicks teams home 3 times in those 6 years. I just know niggas was turned when he said he was retiring. The Warriors probably have like the most obvious case in the modern day for an elite reign of terror because everybody and their mama was sick and tired of them. But that was more so them jumping niggas, to be honest, especially after KD got there. They'd be the go-to if we were talking about entire teams, but we're not. It's not one of the greatest stretches ever, but I did want to mention that we are currently living in Ilya Topuria's reign of terror, and he doesn't look like he's slowing down at all. Undefeated records aren't exactly rare for UFC fighters in their prime, but in Ilya's case, it's more about the who and the how. He's finished his opponents in 7 of his last 8 fights, and the only fight that went to decision was when he absolutely brutalized Josh Emmett for 25 minutes straight. One of the judges scored it 50-42. It was a massacre. His right hand is a weapon of mass destruction, and in his last 3 fights, he obliterated 3 all-time great UFC fan favorites. The Oliveira one hurt worst of all, bro. At least Max and Volk were putting up a respectable fight. Charles walked straight into a fucking nuke in the first round and got slumped. That shit still hurt my soul to this day. The fact that he's created the idea of Islam running away from him to welterweight just further mythifies his reign of terror. Whether it's true or not is debatable. I mean, Islam Ben said he wanted to move up to welterweight a couple of years ago. Who cares about the actual facts, though? It's all about agenda around here. That's just currently, though. Past dominant UFC runs include Mighty Mouse when he defended the flyweight belt a record 11 times in a row. He's one of my favorite fighters ever. Anderson Silva had a very dominant title run, but to be fair, he was fighting a lot of cans. His resume is kind of weak compared to other all-time greats. That half decade or so before he started losing nonstop was still awesome, though. As controversial as he is, John Jones' reign of terror was probably one of the most entertaining and dominant runs in UFC history. The PEDs and the domestic abuse and all that shit has stained his legacy, but he still slammed legend after legend after legend. This is a crazy run of fights no matter how you look at it. I'm sorry. Sure, a lot of these guys were older, but I feel like the Jones beat up old guys thing is exaggerated. Everybody knows the higher the weight class, the later the peak in most cases. And guys like Rampage and DC said they were at their best ever when they fought him. Now, I'm not the biggest golf fan, but even I know that Tiger Woods was wilding back in the day. He spent 264 straight weeks as the #1 golfer in the world from 1999 to 2004, and that's not even his longest stretch at #1, I think. I think he had like another 5-year one a couple years later. I don't know. In the year 2000, he won 9 PGA Tour events, 3 of which were major tournaments. I think... was that the time he had the 4 major tournament streak too? Listen, I'm gonna be honest, literally the only golf I give a damn about is Tiger Woods related golf, so I don't know an insane amount of shit about the sport, but he obviously had to be mentioned here at least. Now, in boxing, there's so many more insane runs of dominance, mainly because a lot of fighters pad their resume with mid opponents and end up keeping their undefeated records way longer than they do in like UFC. I'll probably give boxing its own video at some point, to be honest, but just to run through some of my favorite runs real quick. You could go with Pacquiao from 2005 to around 2011. There's Mayweather pretty much his whole career. Picking a specific stretch is hard, and he was probably more entertaining earlier in his career when he was actually KOing people, but I don't think it's crazy to say his best stretch, especially in terms of competition, was from the Gotti fight, which was his first pay-per-view headline, all the way to the Canelo fight when he schooled him. In that stretch, he beat Gotti, De La Hoya, Hatton, Marquez, Mosley, Cotto, and Canelo. There was some gaps where he didn't fight much, like the 1.5-year break after the Hatton fight, so it's hard to call it one big stretch, but whatever. There's a few others like Canelo when he unified 168. That undisputed run was crazy, bro. There's 2 Ali runs that could go here. His first heavyweight title run when he snoozed Sonny Liston, and then his second heavyweight title run where he beat Frazier twice and he beat Foreman. Ali was probably closer to his physical prime in the first title run, but the second one had the Rumble in the Jungle and the Thriller in Manila, so it's definitely more iconic. My personal favorite dominant run is probably Usyk's current heavyweight run, though, simply because he wasn't supposed to be this good after moving up from cruiserweight. It wasn't really about him being too small. I mean, he's like the average size for a heavyweight, maybe slightly below average, but he's never had insane power, even at cruiserweight. So when he moved up to heavyweight, everybody thought he wouldn't make it. Go look at the YouTube comments under his fight with Chisora. Everyone was saying he was going to get sparked by anyone with power at heavyweight. And then he went on to clear out the division, beat all the best heavyweights of this generation, and then doubled back for each one of them just to make sure, and he's been undisputed for a couple years now. He's the best of this generation, in my opinion, along with Canelo. If we turn to Olympic sports, there's countless stretches of utter dominance that honestly might never be matched. Michael Phelps from the 2004 to 2016 Olympics is inarguably top 10 athletes ever. I don't care what anybody says. In those 4 Olympics, he won the most medals of any athlete ever in any competition, with 28 total, and 23 of them were gold. No other athlete in Olympic history even has 20. He peaked in 2008 when he won 8 gold medals, which is obviously still a record for a single Olympics, but he won at least 4 medals in all 4 Olympics from 2004 to 16, so it's hard to limit his reign of terror to just that 2008 to 2009 stretch. The large majority of his time world records were broken as the sport evolved, as all sports do, but his medal dominance won't be touched for a while. Now, as great as Michael Phelps was, compared to their other competitors, I'd say the gap between Ledecky and the second best female swimmer is far wider than the gap between Phelps and second best. Bro, You would think these are just Ledecky's personal times. No, these are the all-time 20 best 1500 meter swimming times for women in general. She's been so far ahead her entire career, it's not even funny. Not a single other active swimmer has finished under 1540 either. This was the all-time list for the 800 meter a few years ago too. New up-and-comers like Summer McIntosh are starting to poke holes in Ledecky's dominance as she ages, but it doesn't change the fact that she utterly dominates these lists, and it's not particularly close at all. She's won the gold in the 800 meter in 4 straight Olympics. She actually had a 13-year win streak in the 800 meter from 2011 to 2004, including all competitions, not just the Olympics. This is more than a dominant run. This is just bullying and abuse. She doesn't have as many medals as Phelps. She has Halfest total with 14, and 9 of them are gold. Compared to her own competition, though, it's hilarious. This is a true reign of terror, bruh. She's been doing this since she was 15. She won her first gold medal back in 2012. She has the most world aquatics medals ever for a woman with 30, and 23 are gold. Mind you, she's only 28 years old. She's probably got a few more solid years left in her, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if she gets a few more medals in 2028. Now, people love to get on Simone Biles about pulling out of most events at the 2020 Olympics in the middle of her prime for mental health reasons, I think it was. And to be fair, it does put a massive gap in the middle of her resume, so it's hard to really call it one stretch of dominance, but people forget that's only for the Olympics. Literally a year before that in 2019, she became the 3rd woman ever to win 5 gold medals at a single world championship. She now has the most world championship medals of any gymnast ever, male or female, with 30, and 23 are gold. Her run of dominance went from 2016 all the way to 2024 with a slight hitch at the 2020 Olympics. She says she doesn't know if she's going to compete in 2028, but I don't know. I think the temptation of winning on home soil will be too much to pass up. And of course, if we're talking about the Olympics, we also can't forget about Usain. In the 2008, 2012, and 2016 Olympics, Bolt won gold in every single race he was a part of. He later got stripped of 1 gold medal because his relay teammate tested positive for PEDs, but he still has 8 gold medals to his name. He won the most world championship medals of any male track and field athlete ever with 14, and 11 were gold. Bolt winning the 100 meter, 200 meter, and 4x100 meter relay at 3 straight Olympics, or a triple as it's called, is something that in all likelihood won't happen again for decades, if it ever even happens again, because nobody had ever done it before either. He set the 100 meter record in 2008, broke it again at the Olympics, and then broke it a 3rd time in 2009 at the World Championships, a record of 9.58 that still stands today. In 2008, he broke the 200 meter record and then obliterated his own record by 0.11 seconds a year later and set a basically unreachable one with 1919. I don't think there's ever been a track and field athlete as dominant as him in that short of a time frame. He won plenty of medals over the course of his career, but that 2008 to 2009 stretch was bonkers. Listen to this shit.
That means his last 5 championship races have all been gold medal world record.
Allyson Felix has more Olympic medals and more World Championship medals, but she competed in more of both competitions. For football, I think I'd have to go with Messi's 4 straight Ballon d'Ors from 2009 and 2012. At the time, no other player had won it more than 3 times, and he just rattled off 4 back to back to back to back. He also won the Champions League twice in that stretch, won La Liga 3 times in that stretch, had that historic sextuple season in 2009, and had that utterly nonsensical year where he scored 91 goals, outscoring entire clubs by himself. Ronaldo and Real Madrid's UCL three-peat was great, but I think those 4 Messi years are the best individual stretch in football history. Now, out of Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer, a lot of their best years overlapped, so throughout most of their primes, there wasn't that much separation between best and second best, but Federer from 2004 to 2009 was probably the most dominant stretch. He won 14 of the 24 Grand Slam tournaments in those 6 years. Neither Djokovic nor Nadal were ever able to match that in any of their 6-year stretches. In 2004, 2006, and 2007, he won 3 of the 4 tournaments, and he finally completed the career Grand Slam in 2009 when he won the French Open, which Nadal had denied him from getting his hands on for 3 straight years. He's literally a demon on clay. It's not normal at all. On the women's side, the obvious pick is Serena, but I wouldn't really say she had a concentrated run where she dominated because she was just that good for that long. Her peak was probably that year where she did the Serena Slam like around 2002 and 2003. She didn't win all 4 Grand Slams in one calendar year, but she won all 4 consecutively and held all 4 at the same time. I read somewhere that her record during that stretch was like 94-8 or something. I'd have to double check, but she was wilding. So out of all these athletes who were terrorists in their primes, who had the most dominant run at their peak? There's a fair case for a few of these guys, but if I was forced to rank my top 5, it would look like this. 5th would be MJ, in my opinion. The legacy he built in just those 6 years was insane. Winning the scoring title and championship every one of those full seasons, along with 4 MVPs and every finals MVP, yeah, I think that's valid. 4th would be Messi. The guy was outscoring entire clubs by himself in 2012, bro. 91 goals hasn't even been approached by another player in over half a century. And even then, that other player only had 85. The 4 Ballon d'Ors in a row has never been done by any other player either. And he led 2 of the greatest teams in football history. He gotta go here. 3rd, I'm going to have it a tie between Usain Bolt and Michael Phelps. Phelps is the only athlete ever to get 8 medals at a single Olympics, and he did it twice in 2004 and 2008. 14 golds over 2 Olympics, and he snatched basically almost every world record before they were broken after his retirement. Bolt's 2008 and 2009, though, I mean, that can't be replicated. The triple-triple has never been done by anyone else ever. But in 08 and 09 specifically, he broke a previous record or broke his own record in damn near every race he was in. I actually think it was every single one. It got to the point that announcers were mourning old records before the race even started.
The championship record is 19.79 by Michael Johnson. That is almost certainly gone. That has about another 5 minutes left.
All that is impressive and all, but at 2, I got Katie Ledecky. Her stranglehold on the women's swimming record book is so tight, I've literally never seen lists like this in any other sport. If we're talking about pure dominance in your own sport, I don't think it can get much crazier than this. My first place would have to be Wayne Gretzky, though. Like I said, 8 straight MVPs in your first 8 years in the league is utterly diabolical and will literally never happen again in any major sport again, ever. Winning championships in half of those 8 seasons is the cherry on top. There's simply nothing like that. It gets crazier when you look at the numbers. It's already a well-known stat, but for anyone who doesn't know, in hockey, a point is when you score a goal or assist a goal. Wayne Gretzky had the most points ever with 2,857. If you take away all 894 of his goals, he still has more points than any other player ever. It's genuinely nonsensical what he was doing. Who do you think had the most dominant run in sports history? I don't know. It's hard because there's a lot of subjective context that goes into it. Let me know what your pick is in the comments. I'm going to catch y'all next time.